What's good, brother?
Happening with you, bro?
Chilling, chilling. I'm good. Thank you for joining. You can hear me well?
Yeah, I got you.
All right. Well, thank you for joining. I appreciate you. We had a little mishap last time, but we here now, so we're gonna make it happen.
Absolutely.
I appreciate your time. So you and I had an opportunity to meet about, I think, 7 or 8 years ago when I was doing the Cypher show on DTF Radio. And since that, yes. So since that time, I followed you. I've not only paid attention to the music, but also to some of the social commentary that you've made. And that's one of the reasons why I wanted to bring you on the show, to get your perspective on things, and also, your longevity in the game. Not only as an artist, but you've also worn different hats as an A&R, part of a Grammy-winning production team.
Mm-hmm.
So definitely wanted to get your perspective as well as a result of that. But let's talk a little bit about your career when you got started in hip hop up until now, and some of the like I said, the different hats that you've worn throughout your career.
What's crazy is I remember my introduction to hip hop. My cousin Roger, he locked me in the bathroom and made me learn Parents Just Don't Understand by Fresh Prince.
Okay.
He wanted to, it was one of those holidays where your cousins come to the house and he's like, yo, we gonna perform it downstairs. So I had to learn my parts. So
okay.
We had one of them long, skinny radios like GQ gave his little brother and Juice.
Right.
Joints. And we literally locked. He would not let me leave that damn bathroom until I knew that song. So that was kind of one of my first introductions of hands-on hip-hop, right? Before that, my uncle, the most unsuspecting uncle I have, who just is so not hip-hop, if you ask me, but
right.
He had Eric B. for President on vinyl. He had The Wild Wild West by Kumo D.
Mm-hmm.
And he had Slick Rick the Ruler when that CD first dropped, like the week it dropped, he had it.
Mm-hmm.
So those were some of the highlights with him that I remember. I remember we actually in the 5th grade, I remember taking his Eric B. for President record to school. So that way we kind of had like a little party in school and everybody could like bring one record.
Okay.
So I believe that was the one that I grabbed and snuck out of his room to take to school.
Mm-hmm.
Fast forward, I sang initially. So
Really?
coming to junior high school and but coming through early junior high school, our first record deal situation with Dynamite Records, hilarious, was in the 6th grade, 7th grade, disbanded in the 8th grade. We were in a group called Visions, me, my god brother Anthony, and my man Reggie, and my guy Fritz, and we were managed by my god brother's mother's boyfriend at the time, Seville. And every Saturday and Sunday, we were in vocal training in Bed-Stuy. We would take the bus and have like 2 packs of Franks, and we was in there all day. Some juice, and that was pretty much it, because anything else would kind of coach your vocal cords, so they wouldn't really let us eat much and drink much. So tea and so on and so forth. So we were in there doing that. Then come to 8th grade, our parents, who were kind of reluctant to even let us do that, were like, if our grade point average dropped below a certain point, that we would have to disband. And ironically enough, the one partner who was really in the group, because he was our good friend, he wasn't even really one of the vocalists, failed miserably twice in a row. They gave us a shot. After the first one, they kind of put us on probation.
Right.
And, come June, him and one of our leads, Reggie, he did terrible too that second go round. So that kind of just reinforced what Fritz did twice. So they was like, nah. So that all fell apart.
Right.
So at that point, we went on to kind of go our separate ways musically. We were still best of friends, but nobody else was showing any interest in any kind of music. I was the only one that kind of stuck with it. Ironically enough, before the end of that year, a friend of mine, Aaron Vera, another friend named Chris Marshall, cornered me in the school and was like, listen, we about to start this rap group and you're going to be in this group with us. And I'm like, well, I don't rap. He was like, nah, we're going to start this rap group. And I'm like, well, I could sing the chorus. Back then, I didn't even know it was called a hook. I'm like, I could sing the choruses, but I can't rap. And he was like, no, we're going to teach you to rap. So we literally go, I went to Fort Hamilton Junior High School in Bay Ridge. I used to bus from Flatbush there. And walking distance was Fort Hamilton Army Base. So the few Black children from my neighborhood were in the school, which was 6 of us. And then the rest of the African-American population came from the military kids whose parents were stationed on the base. So most of our friends that we kind of clicked with, which were, you know, I had Italian and Greek and Armenian friends, but truthfully, you gravitate kind of to your own, whether you realize it or not.
Right.
So I ended up on the base all the time. And then honestly, until my like junior year of high school, that's where I spent most of my time. You know what I mean?
Okay.
So the irony is we go to the house, Chris Marshall's house, and they start teaching me to rap. Just terrible 24 hours. Like this whole first 24 hours worth of visits was terrible. So that's about a week and change. I was
prior to that, you've never spit a bar in your life.
Not one I wrote. I was memorizing. Remember with my cousin, I was memorizing other people's songs, but
right.
I had written songs though, or you know, the 6th, 7th graders version of songs, right?
Right.
So we wrote this verse called "Unstoppable," and that was the first 16 bars that I guess I ever wrote. I think it was like 24 bars, and then the fellas upstairs had to help us shorten it.
Okay.
Ironically enough, the fellas upstairs were his older brother and his partner. They had a group called Chaos and Mass Confusion. So they upstairs, we could hear them rapping for real through the floor, and we downstairs just tearing up hip hop. So ironically enough, Mass Confusion stopped rapping. Chaos went on to become Babyface Chaos from the Bush Babies.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So that's how far back that relationship goes.
Wow.
So we're down there doing the thing. And then, you know, eventually you kind of get the hang of it and start coming up with your own, you know, faux pas to music. And then you realize, okay, these are certain words that are just not hip hop. You don't use those. You know what I'm saying? Like they will make your verse instantly uncool.
Right,
so,
right.
I caught the hang of it and found out what the acceptable hip hop vernacular and dictionary was, and then I was off to the races from there. And I mean, I still sang the whole way, but when I found out, I did take a solo shot at the R&B thing, and I used to record in Bear Mountain from Brooklyn. So on the weekend, I would be out there from Friday until Sunday, so I can go to school Monday. But I would be in Bear Mountain staying at the studio. Wow. Ironically, now watch, there was a strange relationship between Chaos and his dad, right? How did his dad end up becoming my manager? And I never know that was his son until he's been managing me almost 2 years. And then I happened to see a picture and I'm like, wait, I know him. And ironically, Chaos is actually a junior. So, you know, Lee Harold Sr. was my manager.
Okay.
And I didn't realize it was a strange relationship until after I figured it out. Then when I seen Lee, I'm like, yo, I'm working with your pops. He's like, yeah, about that. So long story short, but it was just ironic how small the circles can be, right? So anyway, I was going up there and I'd be up there 3 days at a time and still not have the song finished and have to come back a second weekend, 3 days and try to finish the song. It just wasn't productive to me. You know what I mean? I wasn't too young. It wasn't productive.
Right.
I go in the studio for the first time with my man Butter. He takes me to a studio in Manhattan. He pays for the session. He makes my beat. He does the cuts, all that himself. Ironically, he used a Buckshot Black Moon set of samples for the hook. And then I grew up to become part of Boot Camp. How ironic is that? But the very first song was called Crooklyn Kid. And it's actually, I still have it on like 1/2-inch reel, the
Wow.
Ampex reels that you have to take to the studio. So I would, if I had a studio session at 12, I would have to leave my house at 8 to go to Sam Ash and get the reel so that I could get back and then make my way into the studio in the city with the reel. You had to bring your own reel, you know what I mean? And I didn't know anywhere like en route to the studio at the time,
Right.
you know? So that was that. So we go from there to realizing that I went in the studio and I did 3 rap songs, and the time it took for me to do Tonda What Up, Wendy What Up, Lori What Up. It took, I literally did 3 songs in the time in one session.
Wow.
Now back then you're paying for sessions, you're not in favor with anyone.
Right.
So
Right.
I could afford this. You know what I'm saying? This made sense. And I
Right.
had more freedom. I wasn't locked into all the laws that came with singing. You know what I mean? Certain things are, you know, I can go and play with my tonality or my pitches and things like that when I'm rapping, and my diction that you're just not allowed to do,
Right.
and be still considered a good singer. You know what I mean?
I hear
And
you.
so I didn't have the freedom. So it was like, all right, cool. Then when I realized I could still sing my own choruses and hooks, I still can, you know, utilize the singing scenario without having to focus on it. I was like, yeah, okay.
Right.
So that's how that happened. So that was the very, very beginnings of it. And then for there, it was just trial and error because I didn't have those. There was nobody to co-sign me. I didn't have access to all those kind of relationships at that time. Which is why a lot of the 90s stuff I missed, like the Lyricist Lounge. You know, I didn't really start hitting the Lyricist Lounge to the 2000s, where everybody else that I deal with grew up in the Lyricist Lounge or grew up in the Washington Square Park and things like that. I stumbled across Washington Square Park, Sticky Mics, you know what I mean?
Right,
so
Sticky Mics, yeah.
I might have been further along in another route had I been doing that. But at the same time, I was doing like the Video Music Box shows and, you know, things like that I could catch up with, the All-Star Talent Show. Anything I could catch up with, I was trying to be a part of. But I didn't know, I just didn't know, you know what I mean?
Right.
And then fast forward comes high school, then graduate high school. I get signed to Chubb Rock's label, Soundscope. And I start working and recording with Dan Salinger and Dan is the benefactor, and then Salinger was the producer, and Chubb Rock was the notable associated. I did a short stint with the original Rock the Bells when they did the first label back in the early 2000s, so I did that. I was in a group, Dark Side Fam, with my man Maga and my man RM Des, who ironically just popped into the Zoom. So I did that part, and it, you know, it was like you went from groups to groups and things like that, trying to figure out what's going on. A lot of the other groups I was in, see, when I was in Dark Side Fam, they were all actual rappers, right? Before that, it was like a bunch of us at kind of at the same level, and then you always find yourself doing 113%, and everybody else kind of coming in late or just whatever was going on, and then frustrates you out the group.
Right.
So I always end up finding myself solo. So that was the first time I actually got with a group that actually everybody kind of had the same dream, so to speak, at the same magnitude. Then I ended up signing to a label called Uppercut Entertainment. They actually cut the first vinyl on me that I ever had. Ironically, I just got 10 copies of that recently. So that was an irony because that was the first and actually only vinyls I had done directly. That, you know, was a Mic Handler, which was my original name, was a Mic Handler vinyl. Now I've been on vinyls with features I've done and other records I've been on and compilations and albums and stuff like that. But this was the first Mic Handz, Mic Handler, you know,
right.
both sides, you know. So we did that for a few years. It bred my relationship with my brother Innocent Flow. Well, Innocent is his name, but Innocent Flow is his handles online. And we ended up, after the fact, a few years later, coming for a few years. It was ironic. Whenever I was closing a project, I would bump into him in time to get him on the project. So he's actually been on every project I've done since then.
Okay.
We would lose contact for a year or two at a time, but whenever I had a project open, before it ended, I would bump into him. And we would get along. So he's still thriving right now, doing his thing. And yeah, from there, I started moving with Boot Camp, and then they started taking me on tour with them and critiquing, and my relationships with Sean Price and my relationships with Rockness and Steel started to become what it is. And they kind of, shared opportunities and gave me the platform to do what it is I did and allowed me to tap into their fan base. And then started going overseas and doing my overseas work and building my own fan base that way.
Right.
Being part of Boot Camp isn't a record label. Boot Camp is a family, it's a team. So Duck Down, for whatever reason, seen no value in me as an artist. That's what I say. I don't know how they feel, but that's how I say. Because I was too close to all of your commodities for you not to extend something or entertain the idea when I might have brought it up.
Right.
But I'm also a seasoned, graphic and fashion designer. That's what I did for 20, 25 years as a day job. So they'll have any conversation in the world with me about designing.
But not about music.
If I want to design shirts or hoodies or, want to do artwork for them, oh yeah, they're willing to sit down and talk to me and pay me for that all day. But they had no interest in talking to me about music. So Eric Sermon, the Def Squad team, they did. So Eric ended up picking me up and signing me to Def Squad, and that's where I am today.
And how long you been with Def Squad?
That's pretty much the journey in a nutshell. There's 2 years now.
2 years. Okay.
So there's been stories in between that we could delve into, but
I can imagine.
Those are kind of like just on the way.
I hear you. Thank you.
You make production, so yeah. So along the way, we got the Grammy nominations and things like that for Magic Stick and Apollo Kids and Take It Over Buster and stuff like that with my partner, which was originally Haj G from the UMCs.
Okay.
So that was that whole. I started off as his manager, became his partner, and moved on from there.
So you've had a lot going on as far as career-wise. You know what I'm saying? Been in the game for a minute. What are your thoughts on hip hop now as you've watched it grow and sort of evolve to what it is these days?
In a fair statement, honestly, I don't really have any thoughts on hip hop today, to be honest with you.
Okay.
I feel like hip hop today is not really my business.
Why is that?
Because they're not talking about anything that I can relate to. They're talking to each other. And I respect that. Just like we were younger, we were talking to each other and our parents couldn't relate. Right. I have conversations in my fan base of people that I could have actual conversations with in real life. Now, there are a lot of young fans that I have that have an appreciation for the tempo of music that I do. And they live beyond their years, so they can actually relate to the things that I speak about.
Right.
But I'll be honest, my life is not a party. My life is not high all the time. My life is not in the club all the time. My life is not talking into money like a cell phone. My life is not fast cars and loose women. That's not my life. You know what I mean? So I can't relate to what they're talking about, and I have nothing to contribute to their conversation, so I don't think much about it. You know what I mean? And that's being respectful. Like, that's not my conversation. Like, that's me minding your business, and that's not what I'm here for.
Interesting. Okay.
Now, ironically, I have my oldest son is of that generation of music. Lex King, he's of that. Right?
Okay.
And I'm behind the scenes, setting up his sessions and making sure my team is handling his mixes and masters and artwork and whatever needs to happen so that he can contend in that ring. But I don't have the relationships and connects that he might want me to have. Like, I don't have DJ Mustard's number. I just don't. He only used 3 notes. I don't know those producers.
Right.
He got 3 chords to his name. I don't know those guys. You know what I mean? But if you want a Eric Sermon, a Rock Wilder, a Premier, a Pete Rock, a Ninth Wonder, a Marco Polo, a Illmind. You want any of those guys? Yeah, Static Selector. I'll make a call for you.
Right.
But if you're talking about Kid the Wiz and all of these younger cats that are making their money, salute them.
Right.
But I don't play the numbers.
I got you.
The youngest producer I got is Drummer Boy.
Okay.
It ain't got nothing to do with his music. He's just a cool cat.
Right. I feel you. So, one of the reasons why I wanted to do this particular show, the video that I shared with you on my page, was actually the gentleman speaking in it. His name is Michael T. Smith. He's a pastor from Jacksonville. And, he's basically speaking about the imagery and messagery and the messages in the music as far as, Black males being portrayed as hyper-criminalized and hypersexualized individuals. Did you see sort of a shift in the industry towards that throughout your career? Do you see that as it's it's a real issue for particularly for the younger community?
Let's say this. If we go back and let's say NWA, right? 80s, right? The last time you had something that was just unfrustrated, frustrated, but positively frustrated, let's say, commentary was the message. Once Public Enemy hit, it started to get mad.
Right.
Once NWA hit, it started to get fed up. All we are doing is social commentary with our personal realities. There are statistics to support the actual realities of what we're talking about. Right. To be honest, the fantasy part is the living in the club all the time, driving the big cars all the time, spending the big money all the time, and acting like your life is happy-go-lucky. Okay. That's actually the life.
Right.
But the criminalization of it all, that's our reality. That's them living about a system, around a system, and through a system that they feel is not for them, period. So they feel actually put in the corner, and they're just telling you what that corner looks like. Now, with me, I choose to do a lot of cause and effect in my music. You ever listen to my music? The darker it gets, it's always a cause and effect. If they, then I. If we, then we'll. If you, then I. You know what I'm saying? If then now. So it's always there so that I can kind of justify where I'm coming from and tell a complete story with a complete narrative. Not, I woke up in the morning and I slapped you in the head and I'm driving down the street and I'm gonna run over your mother toes and I'm gonna park the car in your father's chest and we're gonna go to sleep. We're not doing that.
Right.
I'm not shooting everybody. I don't got bombs I'm strapped to your chest, and I'm not doing none of that, because when people listen to my music, I want them to be familiar with me. I want them to say, hey, the Chris I've known, Mic Handz is the Chris I know. I want them to be able to say, I want there to be at least 3 people at all times that can say, yo, I remember that. Because either they were in that situation with me, or they were one of the people I vented the situation to afterwards. Or they might have been like one of my mans that's in the room right now, might have had to show up to help me get out of said situation.
Right.
These aren't stories. These are accounts. You know what I mean? And they're not for everyone. They're for those that can relate to said accounts. That's the reason you subscribe to the artists that you subscribe to. You choose the artists that make you feel that you can relate to them. Like they're speaking or giving you a voice. Now, if you're subscribing to somebody that doesn't quite match your lifestyle, you're in it for the entertainment, not the connection. You're not in it for the hip hop.
Right.
If you're in it for the hip hop, you're connecting with the artists that speak through you. Everybody in your catalog, you should be able to play a record that literally speaks for you. If you're into the hip hop, this is culture. Right. Just like Judaism, Christianity, this is hip, this is culture.
But do you think
if you don't pose a certain way, not...
I hear you. Do you think though there is a that sort of quote unquote negative type of music is more available and it's easily a push than something that's more positive?
How about this? I'm gonna give them a scapegoat. 15 to 10 years ago, they were able to blame the record labels. The record labels are only financing and pushing this kind of music.
Right.
That's where that conversation belonged. Right now, there are no record labels. There's 3 of them. And 90% of the artists are not signed to them. 90% of the artists that are putting music in the world right now are not signed to either one of these, Atlantic, Interscope, Def Jam. They're not signed to any of them. Or well, Universal, pardon me. They're not signed to any of them. So who we blaming now? Because that's the people speaking for themselves at that point. They're not being perpetuated by these corporations. They're being funded by themselves.
Right.
Telling the story they want to tell. So now, are they exploiting themselves?
That's a good question.
Because the first time at the end of the day, but then again, when you go to work and you work a 9 to 5 for somebody, are you not exploiting yourself? Because you're not being paid what you actually worth. And you're not being paid to do something you actually love.
Okay.
So we can stay on that merry-go-round about who's to blame for our realities. But text me or call me when we're ready to stop and talk about how much contribution we have to our realities. And then let's take the remainder and blame that on somebody.
Okay, I feel you.
But let's not blame other people and then try to blame ourselves for the pieces left behind. Let's not do that. Because that's not true. Because me being a testimony, nobody influences me but me. I don't even listen to other music, to be honest with you. Every bit of music you find in my house, except for my father's records, I know these people personally. I might hear songs, but I don't own songs from anyone else but my friends. Because I can't relate to nobody else like that. I have yet to really find established artists that I feel are telling my story. My friends are, because they're living it with me.
Right.
So I don't know. There's always going to be negative imagery. Television, TV, music, newspapers, which manipulate everything. The news that manipulates everything. If that's the case, 75% of the news is all negative. I don't care what channel you go to.
Right.
Are they perpetuating a negative stereotype or negative narrative? No, that's the real world. So the music does the same thing, you just put a beat to it.
I feel you.
But you also have to be responsible enough to take onus for what you choose to indulge in, what you choose to press play on, what you choose to watch and not watch. You may watch porn, Pornhub, this, that, and the third. You might not be watching kiddie porn because you made a choice that that's not what relates or speaks to me.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? But porn is porn at the end of the day, by description.
Right.
But at that point, it's what you choose to subscribe to that now starts the narrative and starts to speak the conversation. So I think with music, you can very much choose to listen to a whole bunch of Skilo-like artists if you so chose to. Or you can choose to listen to gangster shit if that's what you choose to. You could choose to listen to Dead Prez and social commentary like Mos Def, or the Lupe Fiascos of the world. There's so many different versions of talented artists. It's up to you who you press play on.
But so just to play devil's advocate for a minute.
Absolutely.
When you turn on a Hot 97 or 105.
Don't, but go ahead.
I hear you. But there's only a certain artist that you're gonna hear, certain type of music you're gonna hear. So when I talk about, when I mention, mainstream music that's more accessible, that's what I mean. So, when we talk about the radio stations and whatnot, what's your take on that?
Same thing. Radio stations are your choice. You can easily go to Sirius and listen to over 1,500 stations and pick the one you want.
Right.
Go to YouTube and there's millions of the same material that you can just type in and pick what you want. Right. You chose to go to the store that only got 6 products. Because think about it, Hot 97 and 105 only play 15 records in rotation.
Right.
On all the stations. So you could say, you know what, I want to listen to this on 97. So you go to 105, listen to the same playlist backwards.
Right. Right.
So
exactly.
When you really look at it, who are we really blaming? We have to subscribe to be the fuel to make that car work. So no, I don't blame nobody but the individual that indulges and fuels that fire. Like, I don't listen to Hot 97 unless I'm in my car.
Right.
That's because I don't feel like grabbing the auxiliary cord and plugging my phone in.
Right.
And truthfully, it ain't normally me that had the station set last, so it's probably smooth hip hop and R&B, somewhere like that.
Right.
I'm talking about keeping it stacked. It's normally not what I would be playing. Today I got in knowing the run to, baby. It's blasting from where I had the auxiliary cord plugged in the last time playing some joint. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So I got out, I didn't readjust the volume, but then it went back. When you disconnect the aux, it goes back to the radio.
Right.
And apparently I'm blasting elevator music loud. That's what it's normally set to. I don't deal with the radio. The only reason I honestly deal with Sirius is because I listen to playlists to see, are they playing me still or do I got to put some more records out? That's really why I listen to it. Because when I go to listen to music on my own type of time, trust me, most of the time it's not hip hop I'm listening to. That's my job. So I'm trying to get away from that. I'm listening to 90s R&B. And it's honest because remember, I was a singer first.
Right. True indeed.
That's my vacation from work. You don't do data entry at work, come home and write papers for people.
Right.
You're doing that. You know what I'm saying? You just no, we ain't typing nothing until tomorrow morning.
Right.
So I'm saying with hip hop sometimes.
So let me ask you, you mentioned your son is doing music. And you say you sort of play the background and assist where you can. So what if though, he started making music that wasn't reflective of his situation, who he was as a person? Like, what would you step in and be like, nah, or like, what would you do?
I did that when he was 14.
Okay.
Here was my version of censorship. I ain't gonna tell you what to talk about. It's not my business. You got to tell your story. But the only rule I have, one, being the artist that I'm known to be, you're going to be my son whether you want to or not. So that's just how you're going to be known. Whether you're a fool not to leverage that.
Right.
But you're going to talk about something. What you talk about is your decision, but it's going to be something. The minute I hear you on a beat saying nothing, we're going to have a conversation. All my support gets withdrawn musically at that point. You on your own, because I don't know that journey. So I ain't gonna act like I do. So I might mess you up.
Right.
That version, I might screw you up because I don't know how to market mumble. But as long as you're talking about something, and my son is a lyricist, he can write. Boy can rhyme. He has no choice. Every one of his uncles and myself, we rhyme.
Right. So
that's all he's ever known. Like when he was 3-4 years old, he's playing in my boxes of tapes. Like that's all he knows. So it fits aesthetically into this new music.
Right.
The call and response ad libs. It got the mood and the little sound effects that they make and all that. He does his thing. He don't sound no different than they do until you do his content.
I hear you.
That's why I can bring him out to open for me in certain situations, and my crowd doesn't look at him like he got 7 heads. My crowd will fishbowl you in a minute.
Right.
They just hear crickets. They just be fishbowling you, just looking like, really?
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
but you have to say something. That's the only rule I have. I'll never stifle somebody's creative freedom.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm an artist before anything, and I don't mean music. I'm an artist. I draw, I paint, I illustrate. My first real job was an illustrator at an ad firm. I went to art school. Like, I'm an artist.
Right.
Well, I can't tell you what crayons or crayons or color pencils or oils to use. That's up to you.
Mm-hmm.
But what I will tell you is you're going to stay on the canvas. The minute it starts to run onto the wall,
Right. Right. I got you.
A part of the picture. You see what I'm saying? So we build on that a lot. But he's like, you know, he's very adamant in that being what he feels sets him apart is the fact that he could actually rap. And think about it. His uncles growing up are armed that's sitting right there. That's been in his home. Like, you ain't have to travel to see him. He right here.
Right.
And when he come to the house, they sit down and have their own independent dialogues, but outside of me. There's General Steele, there's Rock Ness Monster, there's Sean Price. You know, there's Pharaoh, Prince Poe, Sadat X. These are the cats that you have to be around. And the minute you decide to say I rap, you got to be ready to have a different kind of conversation. And these are the conversations he had to go through before he was ready to come to me and say, Dad, I think I want to do this for real. So again, you know, not everybody has those influences or the benefit of that. So I can't charge them with it. You know, some people, when somebody's finding their way on their own, you can't charge them for not following the recipe.
Right.
You know, but once you get here, somebody has tapped you on your shoulder at some point. You see me? Like my man, Waka Flocka. When Flocka first dropped, I was like, I have no clue what he's saying. And then on top of that, he had the heavy Atlanta accent. So now it's not even that I don't know what you're saying. I don't understand what you're saying to try to understand what you're saying.
Right.
It took me to work for them for 4 or 5 years and really have a lot of alone time just talking to Waka and realize that accent don't go everywhere with you do it. That's right. You from Queens, ain't you? Not bad. Right. Then having this one conversation where my man said, like, I caught him rapping. I caught him rapping. I'm like, yo, wait a minute. He can rap.
Really?
He can rhyme and get busy. Just like Flo. People ain't know Flo Rida, all that round and round. Yeah, all right, you do that Pitbull stuff because only 2 people in your lane. But he could rhyme, street corner battle rhyme.
Really?
Yes. Okay. Well.
Wow.
So I'm like, I had to pull him to the side away from the folks. Like, yo, why? Come on. Flocka, what you doing? He was like, I give my fans what they want. He ain't had to tell me nothing else. I didn't need no more details. You ain't got to get into nothing else. Remember, he came in by way of Gucci. Fitting in on Gucci records. The people found him and connected to something. He'd be a fool to change that. You see what I'm saying? Depending on what you're in it for, right?
Right.
Right now, I'm a loyalist to hip hop, right? So culturally, I'm a loyalist. I have certain aesthetics, certain cookie color rules I will not break. But I also do under 100,000 a year as a person.
Right.
That's with my cans going back. That's with my paper route. That's with rap music. That's with features and shows. Right. Waka, I've had a deal on the table for 140,000 for one show for him. You see what I'm saying? So depending on what you in it for, I can't knock you. It's working and it's part of your agenda. Right. But if you're gonna start claiming certain things, which he never does, start waving certain flags, which he never does. Right. That's the difference. See, the reason we had such a problem with generational things with hip hop and opinion about everybody feeling the need, and ironically that you asked me about the state of hip hop today, that question has been solid for 7 years. I haven't done an interview where it didn't come up.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
But what I said was, you remember when we do eat cereal. We get the cereal box that had the toy in it.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes you get the one that come with the red glasses. When you look at the back of the box, it reveals something that you couldn't see without the red glasses.
Yeah.
Those are called hip-hop lenses.
Mm.
So when you're looking at hip-hop through hip-hop lenses, you're not seeing what you're really looking at. You're just seeing what's filtered through your hip-hop lenses.
Mm.
So to be fair to the next generation, if we took our lenses off, we might see what they see. But since we live with our cultural lenses on or our hip-hop lenses on, we only see what applies to us, and it's not a lot of that in there.
Mm.
So again, I'm here to be fair. I'm not here to bash it. Like I said, I got a child that's in that space. I can't.
Right.
Bash that. But what I will say is, I don't see well without my glasses, so I keep my lenses on.
That's a very good way to put it. I like that. I mean, with that having been said, what is your vision? Like, where do you see hip hop going in the next 10, 20 years?
Away. No, here's the thing. In 10, 20 years, real rap, I'm gonna be 60. 50 plus 60. So if hip hop is still, from the soundtrack perspective, a priority for me, I need y'all all to have an intervention. All right. I should be writing raps on my own time at that point. Because truthfully, let's just be real. Your knees ain't really gonna be in it for what it takes to run this route. This show route, these flights, they put me out. Des can attest to it. Wendy can attest to it. Lori, everybody on this call can attest to it. They put me down in intensive care and sick for 12 years, quietly, and then not so quietly for the last 5. That's because I was living on that type of time. You understand? I didn't have gurus with me. I didn't have a private chef budget. I didn't have any of that it takes to compensate for sensible lifestyle and chasing this game. So all my money went to the flights and the hotels. I didn't really have the money to not be at a McDonald's or Wendy's or Chinese restaurant while I'm on the road. You see what I'm saying? Nobody is financing this travel. Nobody is financing these hotels. It's all me and the people in my personal family and circle that are anteing up so I could get to these places. So, yeah, in 10, 15 years, I don't know, man, because I can't navigate the road that the quote unquote trailblazers are. So what I have done, and a lot of people like me that I know, like-minded individuals, we have kind of built what's that, a terra firma? Eco bubble?
Right.
We exist, we're like Earth 2. Well, Earth 1, let's keep it a stack. But we're like Earth 1 while Earth 2 is doing what they're doing.
Right.
With us, we haven't changed. We are slow and steady. If you come to one of our shows, remember, a venue only hold 250 to 350 people club size, and maybe 1,500 to 2,500 theater size, and then stadiums are stadiums, right? But you can only get X amount of people in the building.
Right.
So whether you get 1,500 Busta Rhymes fans or 1,500 Boosie fans or 1,500 Smith & Wesson fans or 1,500 Lil anybody, just pick a Lil, right?
Right.
It's still 1,500 people. You can't get nobody else in there, right? So our job is to pack a venue and do what we do. It don't matter who you pack it with. The door is still gonna be the door, and you still only gonna be able to get 1,500 people in there, or whatever the capacity of the space is.
Right.
So when you look at it, our shows still look the same. We just did the 25th anniversary of Smith & Wesson. We did the Gramercy Theater, 23rd Street in Manhattan. There was people up in the second rafter. Floors packed. I had a hard time even getting to the stage. Or I had to go down through the basement.
Right.
And then when you get up on the risers, there's only like the last 3 rows that had a few people sprinkled in it. The rest was packed. They didn't have to be new guys, new kids. The venue was just as happy.
Right.
So we have an existence as long as we cater to who we cater to. Because remember, our fans grew with us. Our fans literally grew with us. The same people that come to our shows now are the same people that had Helter Skelter, Smith & Wesson, and OGC tapes in their book bag, including myself.
Right.
When they were circulating. You go to a Juice Crew reunion show. Sold out at every date. If that's not what your goal is, what you looking for?
Right.
So cater to your people. Stop trying to cater to people that don't have the conversations you have. They can't talk to you about mortgage. They can't talk to you about kids in college and sending kids to college.
Right.
Having kids. They can't talk to you about that. Putting your wife through college, putting your girlfriend through school. Your girlfriend putting you through college, putting you through school.
Right.
They can't talk about that. All they can talk about is cars, money at their ear, swiping, and being hella high on everything that don't clean the kitchen. That's it. They haven't lived that yet. DMX said to me one day, I think I was 20, 21. Dean and Wah came in the store I was working in. I seen the laminate, so I knew there was some music going on, right? Dean and Wah came in by themselves. I didn't know who the hell they were. I just seen laminates. I was working at the New York French Fry Company on 46th Street and 7th to 8th. Look at that. You remember that? There was no seats. It was standing room only. You had to get your fries and keep it moving.
Right.
They came in. So I seen the laminates. I'm about to shoot my shot. Like, yo, what up? What y'all doing? I rap. What's the word? Oh, you rap? I'm like, I rap. What's the word? What we talking about? You know, I'm trying to get out this French fry business.
Right.
So they like, yo, hold up. They run outside and come back in with DMX and a video camera.
Wow.
So let us hear something. I had on remember the Ramsey Racing shirts? The Fox. They had the little Fox on the sleeve, and everybody's wearing these motorcycle shirts. They ain't had nobody.
Yeah, I remember those.
All right. So I got this on. I'm at work, got my little apron on, whatever. I spit my little rhyme. When I look back at the video, because this is the opening scene to DMX's Hell is Hot DVD. Who knew? I had dreads, they was this short at the time.
Wow.
And my confidence level, look here, I'm looking everywhere but at who I'm spitting at. Like it was young.
Right.
But I spit, then DMX spit. He went hard at me, all that. So the next one, I spit mad, right? So I spit. And then he spit again, and then he stopped and he said, yo, listen, your flow is dope and your style is hot, but you got to go through some more hell to get where I'm at. One, I'll never forget it because every time I look at that DVD, I got to remember the moment, right?
Right.
I wrote 88 I hate DMX rhymes that day. I don't know who he was. But the fact that I started writing anti-DMX bars meant that I did not get what he was trying to say. It took me about 5 years to see him again for it to dawn on me what he was trying to say.
Right.
Rap, I could put words together, but the content isn't interesting to him. He can't relate. What are you talking about? What are you talking about to make me think that we're like-minded? I hadn't seen enough yet. I had to go through some more hell. Other words, tribulation. You got to go through more pain. You got to go through, and it's not always painful pain. You have to live more life.
Right.
To speak to these grown-ass people. So eventually, life took a lot of turns. A lot of wheels fell off a lot of cars. A lot of knees got skid. A lot of things got lost. A lot of folks was born. A lot of stuff happened.
Right.
That changed the landscape of my life. It changed the comforts of the walls of my life. Right? Granted, my parents were there. We got an eye, so they might as well not have been in certain circumstances. So I still adapted to that because I was out of the house a lot, trying to carve my way. But I always and never didn't not be able to go back and deal with that if I hit a glitch or if I needed something crazy, right?
Right.
Some people never had that, right? In my situation, there was a lot that came along with when I stepped out and ventured on my own path. That's where that pain came from.
Right.
Because my pride and my lack of humility at the time wouldn't allow me to go for the reinforcements and go for the help. Because remember, I almost told y'all everything but kiss my ass when I went out the door.
Right.
I got this. You know what I'm saying? So now go have that. You understand? Right. Even though they would have opened the door at any given time. So that granted me the pain. It granted me the content. It granted me something to write about. At which point I had gone through the hell that was necessary to start that actual journey. So it I think I say it all to say that I think these kids that's rhyming and winning have a great situation because they've put themselves in awesome spots. As they live life, their content is going to be forced to change.
I feel you.
Also, where they have an advantage over us, we come from an era of Black men where you can't show pain.
That's a good point.
You got to convert it to anger to deliver it. You can't show vulnerability and pain. That's all these kids do.
Right.
That's where they have one up on us. They're in touch. They're so much in touch with their emotional reality that it makes for a whole different kind of music once you can decipher it. So,
wow.
I don't know. It's going to take it to another place. I call it emo music on a lot of levels because these kids, like words like depression, suicide, all of that, we wasn't throwing them words around like that. Anxiety, we wasn't throwing them words. We was living it, but we wasn't throwing them around. These kids, that's their narrative. I respect that. And working in the field I work in 9 to 5 now in the mental health field, I really respect that because the first step to me even being able to help the people I work with is them being able to identify the fact that they're dealing with these things. These kids is coming to the table telling you, hey, I'm fucked up. Listen.
Right.
Wrote a song about it like the here it goes. That's pretty much where they at.
Right.
That part I respect wholeheartedly because we struggled with that. It took us to become in our 40s before we were able to start writing and delivering songs that were that vulnerable.
And that's an interesting point. I never thought about it that way. We got about 5 minutes left, but tell me what's the latest? What's going on with Mic Handz? What's on the horizon for you?
Well, I just got this new kidney. Rounding out the last couple weeks of the recovery.
Congratulations, by the way.
Appreciate it. That was the last 12 years. I'm thankful for it, for the humility and everything that came from it. But I would trade this for anything else you got in your pocket. You know what I'm saying?
I can imagine.
Yeah, this was a ride, brother. But with that said, it's a new lease, right? I feel like I got a second birthday. So I was born February 7th, and now I was reborn August 26th. Right? So I just recorded my first 2 verses in 4 months just to see if I could, because they put the new kidney in the front. So the diaphragm and everything is impacted now. So I'm trying to figure out what my breathing looks like now.
Yeah.
But I got it done. I got 2 albums done, one of which I did a listening session for January 22nd, 2020. It was scheduled to come out in March, but the world shut down in March.
Right.
I could have done a virtual release, but I don't know how to do that. I'm from where we have to touch people. So I hold it and not waste the release or learn how to exist in this virtual space before I waste the record. So it just got out of mastering because, of course, we stopped production on everything. The vinyl is at the press now. All the merch has started coming in. So we're about to gear up for the top of the year to drop that album. That's Golden Era Timeless. That's By Way of Paris, produced by Sismograph. Great features on it. It's going to be a great record. Then I have a second project with another 10 songs called, it's a part 2 to the Blacklist 1, Rise of the Daywalker. This one is Blacklist 2, King of the Damned. And when I say King of the Damned, if you notice, a lot of my stuff has vampire themes to it. I feel like I'm the living dead because they said hip hop was dead, but I feel like I'm alive. So, and my friends all get busy, so they're very much alive. So I guess we're the vampires now, the undead. So, Damned. That's all produced by Blacklist, my Black Market team out of Tampa. Salute Tracks, who held that whole project down. And those are the 2 starters. After that, I got a bunch of features that'll be popping up on different albums and stuff like that.
Okay.
I'm also in a docu-series for the fashion background, Drip, the rise of fashion.
Okay.
You can check that out on YouTube. And, you know, I'm still acting. So my Rap Star, the series that just got picked up. So you'll look for that on Hulu, Netflix, or wherever that's going to be. And, Project Heat, I'm still on that. So look for season 4.
Okay. Got a lot of things going on there. I appreciate you coming through and kicking it with me for a few.
Of course.
And where can people follow you at?
At Mic Handz everywhere.
Okay.
Google is the shortcut, or just go to michandz.com.
All right. Well, thank you again, brother. I appreciate your time and kicking it with me. Hopefully we'll be able to do this again. And stay safe out there. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. I appreciate y'all.
Thank you.
I'm going to post this up pretty soon, so stay tuned for that.
Got it.
Thank you, brother. Appreciate you.
Peace.
All right. Take care.